Picture a time over 2 millennia ago, long before Western democracies took root, where vast republics thrived in the heart of ancient Bharat. These republics were not mere remnants of early governance. They were powerful political systems that embraced democracy, systems where the will of the people mattered more than the power of a monarch. But how did these early Indian republics influence the democracy as we celebrate today? And why does the history seem to repeat itself, moving from democracy to monarchy and democracy once again? As we celebrate Republic Day on January 26th, reflecting on India's transition from colonial rule to the Democratic Republic in 1950, it's vital to look beyond the modern era and connect the dots between our contemporary democracy and the ancient republican traditions that have been lost in time. Did you know that the very foundations of Indian democracy can be traced back to the Mahajanapadas or Ganasanghas, where collective governance was practiced centuries before Western democracies existed? These ancient republics were the precursors of modern democratic ideals, an insight we often overlook. So why did these great republics fade away? And more importantly, why does the pendulum of governance swing between monarchy and democracy in such a familiar cyclical pattern throughout history? Keep watching to uncover the dramatic rise and fall of India's ancient republics, the lessons we can learn from them, and how their influence echoes in modern governance. India's ancient political systems weren't just early form of governance. They were democracies by every modern standard. The Mahajanapadas, spanning from 6th century BCE, were not just kingdoms. Many were republics where the power wasn't held by a single ruler, but was distributed across councils of representatives in a true sense of collective decision-making. These early republics were an example of governance far ahead of their time, where inclusivity and welfare took precedent over personal power. Take the Vijay Republic, where the Lichavi clan governed through Mahasangha Assembly, a system that mirrors modern parliamentary democracy, or the Malla Republics, where the councils rather than kings made decisions for the people. The system wasn't centralized. Instead, decision-making was shared, ensuring that the voice of every representative counted. The model of governance was rooted in Sanatana Dharma, which emphasized collective responsibility and the welfare of the people. But just as these republics flourished, they began to crumble. External invasions, internal conflict, and the rising demand for centralized control saw the shift towards monarchies, marking the slow decline of India's republican systems. Monarchs like Chandragupta Maurya brought an end to democratic councils, consolidating power under a single rule. The Mauryan Empire and later the Gupta Empire would shift from decentralized republics to centralized monarchies, setting a course that would dominate the Indian subcontinent for centuries. So why did the republics give way to monarchies? The rise of external threats, internal factionalism, and the complexities of managing vast territories led to the decline of India's earliest republics. As kingdoms grew, so did the need for strong centralized leadership. Monarchies seemed to provide stability in times of chaos. Yet, this concentration of power often led to corruption, greed, and eventually instability. History, it seemed, had a cruel cycle. Democracies rise, then fall, only to be replaced by monarchies that inevitably become fragile under the weight of absolute power. Fast forward to colonial period and the cycle repeated itself. India, once again under foreign rule, struggled for self-governance. By the time we reached the Indian independence movement, the push for democracy was reignited, but this time it was influenced by Western ideals of democracy and self-rule. However, what many don't realize, the true roots of Indian democratic principles lie not just in Western thought, but in these ancient republican traditions which prioritize justice, equality, and collective governance long before the West ever conceptualized democracy. However, what many don't realize is that the true roots of India's democratic principles lie not just in Western thought, but in the ancient republican traditions which prioritize justice, equality, and collective governance long before the West ever conceptualized democracy. Today, India celebrates its Republic Day, a commemoration of our transition to a republic in 1950. But is the democracy we embrace truly immune to the flaws of the past? As we face new challenges, especially in an era where political correctness, wokeness, and the clash of ideologies dominate public discourse, democracy itself is at risk. When fact and reason give way to subjective beliefs and victimhood, divisions in society grow, weakening the very fabric of democracy. Could the excess of modern democracy, with its political gridlock and unchecked powers, lead us to question whether monarchies, though seemingly outdated, might once again become an attractive alternative? The struggle for power, the inability to govern effectively, and the challenges of balancing diverse needs might in future create an environment ripe for a return to centralized rule. But the question remains, how can we learn from our ancient past? How can we prevent the cycle of democracy, monarchy, and democracy from repeating itself? It is not just about remembering the power of ancient republics. It's about embracing their values and collective governance, justice, and shared responsibility to build a democracy that lasts. As you reflect on the significance of Republic Day, remember this. India's journey from ancient republics to modern democracy is far more than a story of political transitions. It's a lesson in governance, power, and the unending battle between freedom and control. The cycle of democracy and monarchy may seem inevitable, but we have the power to change it. To truly honor our roots, we must revive the spirit of those ancient republics to make it thrive in today's world.